The Andy Griffith Show is simply one of the greatest shows of all time, and in my opinion, the first truly great sitcom. It aired in 1960, and ever since, the show has been in constant circulation. Why has its legacy endured? The plot is simple to the point of being infantile. Just a small town sheriff raising his good-natured son with the help of his aunt, who basically raised them both. No one knows what happened to the mother because it's never said, but we all assume he was a widower. He runs the town with a bumbling deputy who gets in the way more often than he helps. And he has various adventures with the eccentric town people. That's it. Not exactly Shakespeare, but yet it is possibly the most watched show in history. Here is my take. Let's get with it. If there was a picture of a perfect man in the dictionary that wasn't Jesus, then Sheriff Andy Taylor's picture would be there. He was a good-natured, calm in every situation, likable, easygoing, and though he came off as a typical country bumpkin, he was also one of the most intelligent people on TV. He had a solution for every problem, always gave the right advice, was a chick magnet, always had the right answer, and he handled everything with a remarkable common sense. There were two mayors in the show, but for all intents and purposes, Andy Taylor ran the show single-handedly. He was so liked that even his prisoners loved him. Deputy Barney Fife is an enigma. Here he is, arrogant, though deep down insecure, hypersensitive, a know-it-all, a womanizer, pompous, incompetent. All of these are negative traits. But somehow, because of his masterful acting, Don Knotts' Barney is not just lovable and beloved, but he's inarguably the most popular character in the entire show. It's no wonder Don Knotts won an award for his acting all the years he played Barney. The two men, best friends and cousins, couldn't be more different. Andy didn't care about rules and regulations and found them pretentious and unnecessary. He went by his gut, and most of the time he didn't even carry a gun. Barney, on the other hand, was super strict and by the book. So much so that there was an episode when Andy was out of town and Barney pretty much arrested the whole town while he was gone. But despite that, he was inept. Andy would only give him one bullet because he was always accidentally firing it, and it's a wonder he didn't shoot himself in the foot. He had a bad habit of locking himself behind bars on accident, and he was more likely to let the crooks go than catch new ones. And he was a terrible singer. My favorite episode of all was when he somehow wormed his way into singing a solo. He thought he was a great singer, but everyone else knew he was tone deaf and off-key. So Andy turned Barney's microphone off, telling him it was a special mic and he had some other guy sing instead. It was a hoot. Though ironically, it turns out that Don Knotts just faked it for the character, and according to Andy Griffith, he was actually a good singer in real life. He never could realize he wasn't living in a New York ghetto, and that they really just lived in a nice, quiet, hick town where nothing happened. You may think I don't like Barney, but you're wrong. He's my favorite character. The truth is, traits that make the people ugly in other times somehow make Barney lovable in here. This is a show where the side characters are every bit as iconic as the main cast, especially my favorite side character, Town Drunk Otis, who was so friendly with the guys that he pretty much had his run of the jail, and actually locked himself in on purpose during his benders. One time a stranger saw this and Barney said that they were so competent that the criminals didn't waste time and just locked themselves in. My favorite season was season 3, partially because of the introduction of Gomer Pyle, a really nice hick who probably had an IQ of about 60, but secretly had a virtuoso singing voice. He was so popular, he got his own show, Gomer Pyle USMC, which is a good show, but honestly, I wish he would have stayed in Mayberry. Jim Neighbors would go on to make albums, including several gospel ones. There was Floyd, the senile gossiping barber, Ellie Walker, Andy's hot first girlfriend, the Darlings, an eccentric bluegrass-playing family who were an actual group in real life, Clara Edwards, Aunt Bee's frenemy, who was always gossiping and getting Bee into trouble, the fat and competent but lovable Mayor Pike, Thelma Lou, Barney's sweet, long-suffering girlfriend, Goober, Gomer's only slightly more intelligent cousin, Emma, the sweet old hypochondriac, Judd, the smart aleck old fart, Rafe Hollister, the singing moonshiner, and Ernest T. Bass, the hillbilly psychopath who loved to rap and throw rocks at people. Oh, and there's also Asa, the night watchman who was always asleep on the job. And there was even two characters we never actually seen. Sarah, the phone operator, and Juanita, Barney's side chick. Some of these characters only showed up in a few episodes. All good things must come to an end. The last 3 seasons where the show went from black and white to color weren't bad seasons necessarily, but they were a mere shadow of the greatness before. There's a good reason why most channels only play the black and white seasons. And worst of all, Barney left. The show was supposed to end after season 5, and Don Knotts signed on to other projects. When the network saw how popular the show was, they kept on, and by then, Knotts had already began a film career. We lost the most beloved character, and it just wasn't the same, though he would show up again every once in a while. Why is the show so beloved decades after it stopped running? I think it's because of escapism. Mayberry is the perfect town. It's not that there's no problems, but they can all be handled in 25 minutes. Even the somber episodes, like the one where Opie accidentally kills the bird, end in a way that leaves a good taste in your mouth. Even the villains, like the Scrooge-like miser Ben and the cranky second mayor, have tender sides to them. Even Ernest T is lovable in his way. It reminds us of a time when you could watch TV with your kids and not be afraid of seeing propaganda or filth. It reminded us of a time where we could leave our doors unlocked and weren't afraid to send our kids to schools and worry about them getting shot up. The worst bad guys were mostly just drunks and moonshiners who were flawed but far from malevolent. It reminds us of a simpler, frankly happier time that some of us grew up in or wish we grew up in, that is gone forever, never to come back, that we miss. Yes, people like the citizens of Mayberry don't actually exist in the real world, and there is no real town like Mayberry, and never could be, but it provides us with a romanticized view of the way things should be. We're all hoping for heaven, and though Mayberry isn't heaven, it's about as close as you can get.